greetings. I used to look like that. I have a little bit more hair now. Thank you for having me, this great stage. It's probably the best stage I've been on. So I will just tell you about updates from the frontier. So the first slide is a beautiful picture of Patagonia. Who here has been to Patagonia? Show of hands. I can almost see your hands, so we'll work with that. Bunch of you, yeah. Who here has heard of Patagonia? All of you. So the Oxbow team had an offsite in Patagonia last week, and it had the most beautiful water. And we were astonished. It was pure and clean, and there were people kayaking and sailing, and it was wonderful. And as we were standing there, 3 guys came up with a truck and started unloading garbage into the lake. And so we walked up to them, and I said, "Hey, can you stop dumping your trash in the lake?" And they looked at me, and they said, "Bro, fuck off. This lake is permissionless." And so as we stood there in horror, we watched 10 more people roll up with trucks, and all of them started dumping their trash in the lake. And then it became a giant mess, and the kayakers were disgusted, and they rowed away and never came back. And we saw this, and we were very upset, and so we decided to take over the rest of the lake and make sure that the people could not dump trash in it and protect the purity of the waters of Bariloche and Patagonia forever. None of this actually happened. But it's a story about how the actions of a small number of malicious people can taint a common good for everybody. Who here has heard of Tornado Cash? All right, everybody. So I was part of MoonDAO. I started that. I gave all of the early grants to Tornado Cash. It was the first implementation of zero-knowledge proofs on Ethereum. It was the second implementation of zero-knowledge proofs in human history after Zcash. We were all very jealous watching Zcash. We didn't want all of our balances to be public. However, the problem was that there was a video game called Axie Infinity, and Axie Infinity got hacked for $500 million, and hundreds of millions of those dollars found their way into Tornado Cash. And that was a big problem. And in the aftermath of that, not only did the US government sanction the program, essentially making it 25 years in prison for anybody who interacted with it, but also they threw Alexei and Roman in prison, and they received 5-year criminal sentences. This is the lake before, with our offsite, and this is the lake as it was being dumped the trash in, and it was not very pretty. Let me just keep going. Now, the unfortunate thing about being a pioneer at the frontier is that pioneers get shot. So Alexei and Roman were certainly at the frontier, and they were unfortunately held liable for actions of the users, the criminal users of the protocol that they created. And I don't think they should be. And they didn't have any criminal intent. They created a system that ordinary people could use to protect their privacy. We don't put our Venmo transactions on public. We make fun of people who do. So why would we want that on the blockchain? And not only that, they couldn't do anything because the protocol was immutable. And further, they did themselves build a compliance tool that allowed users to prove which deposit their withdrawal came from. Both are currently preparing to appeal the verdicts of their cases, and so if you have the means, consider supporting them. freeromanstorm.org and weWantJusticeDAO.org. This is us outside of the trial that Roman had in New York City. The developers of Tornado Cash were definitely not criminals. But what about all of us? This is one of the conversations I had in 2021 with an economist from Canada who was challenging the idea that using Tornado Cash is not a crime. And he said, say a criminal deposits the proceeds of a crime into Tornado, isn't any non-criminal who interfaces with the Tornado smart contract at risk of providing illegal money laundering services to that criminal? And I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I hope not. And I really wanted it to be the same thing as encryption, where it started out challenged by the government, but then it has been mandated and you see HTTPS everywhere. But it's not. I wish it was, but if it was, then I wouldn't need anyone else to use it to get the benefit. If North Korea was the only user of this financial privacy system, they wouldn't have any benefit. But because all of us also used it, they got the benefit of privacy. So I believe that with great power comes great responsibility. The tools that we have built are incredibly powerful. Tornado was so powerful it was banned by the US government and declared a terrorist. And Alexei's judge, in his trial, said, there is no legitimate use case for Tornado Cash. I disagree. I was using Tornado Cash for payroll. Vitalik was using it to donate money to Ukraine without the Russians figuring out how much money he was donating. And there were all sorts of use cases in between. At the same time, it is also true that in doing so, we were giving and getting privacy from criminal users of the system. Now, I believe all of us are responsible for correcting this false narrative, and it's on us to show that we can have privacy for legitimate users without empowering criminal users. And this isn't hypothetical, because terrorism is unfortunately real. This is an excerpt from Wikipedia about the AMIA bombing that happened here in Buenos Aires because the Argentinian government, according to this, decided to stop exporting nuclear technology to the Islamic Republic of Iran. And their response was to blow up a Jewish community center and kill about 100 people. Would you want to be in the privacy protocol that also gives privacy to the Islamic Republic of Iran agents that are trying to blow up your compatriots? I would not. So Vitalik and I got together and we wrote a paper called PrivacyPools. And the paper about PrivacyPools, and it explains how you can separate legitimate users from potentially criminal users while you're using privacy tools. And it advances the compliance tools that the Tornado Cash team pioneered themselves. Instead of only being able to prove in private by correlating your specific withdrawal with a specific deposit, you can prove in public that you are not some of the users who'd also deposited into the system, which I think is a more scalable and effective system. It aligns with the regulatory objectives because it helps isolate the illicit funds while still providing privacy for legitimate users. And we have about 1,900 ETH deposited and 700 ETH TVL right now, about 2% rejection rate. The way this works is that the user deposits and must wait for an approval. And we do KYT, which is know your transaction, and look up all of the origin of the deposits. And we make sure that the funds from untrusted sources are rejected. And only the approved deposits are allowed to withdraw privately. If you're rejected, you have to go back to the wallet that you came from. And partial withdrawals are supported. So this is an improvement over the original Tornado Cash. I don't always want to send somebody 1, 10, or 100 ETH. So in this system, I can deposit an arbitrary amount and withdraw arbitrary amounts, and the rest gets refunded. So I can kind of use it as a payment wallet where I pay as I go. And the cool thing is that we can still later reject approved deposits, which means if we made a mistake or we find out later that somebody is in fact a criminal actor, we can remove them, and all of the other users by default prove that they are not those users that we just removed from the list. This is a quick demo, but I don't have a lot of time left. So I know that this is a controversial topic because I came in here and called you all criminals. But I encourage you all to join me in trying to figure out how we can achieve privacy legitimately and not empower the illegitimate users of our privacy tools. We made some, I see the timer went up, so we made some admin design decisions. I'll just share these real quick. What we can do is nuke the association set. So we tried to make sure that we can't rug everybody's money. But if we publish a list of approved users that includes nobody, then everybody can still take their money and exit, and we can't retroactively de-anonymize anybody who has already withdrawn from the system. We can shut down pool deposits, but we cannot freeze or move user funds. And we can upgrade the contract that is responsible for certain vetting fees and relays, but we cannot upgrade the contract that holds all the money and allows the users to leave with their money at any time. And so this is how you get non-custodial but permission privacy. We're also working on a version 2, which is a shielded pool to allow internal peer-to-peer payments, swaps. There's no setup required. I can send money to any Ethereum wallet, and they don't have to have already set up an account with the privacy system in order to receive a private payment. And they can still withdraw while dissociating against any potential criminal users that we've identified. Multi-sig support, we can earn yield so that you can earn yield on your private balance. And basically, there's no reason to leave the pool, as well as we're working with Kohaku and integrating there. So please join us and help build privacy for the good guys. And I'll leave you with this. You see how this river goes, and then it bends, and then it touches, and then it creates this other little lake, and that is a pool of isolated liquidity. That is called an oxbow lake. And so Oxbow is going to help keep all of the water and money and private systems clean so everybody can use them forever. Thank you for your time.